pH, porosity, and primer. Let's go. Okay, so if you're looking at the pH scale, we have what's acidic and what's alkaline, and we have neutral in between. When it comes to our eyelashes, they're generally around 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale, so slightly acidic. Our skin, basically the same, maybe a little bit more alkaline on a 4.75 to 5.75 kind of scale. Then we have cyanoacrylate, the main ingredient in lash glue. That itself is on a neutral scale. That's 7. Lashes and for cyanoacrylate and for your skin. What about the pH of polybutylene terephthalate? That's the ingredient that we use, or sorry, the material that we use for lash extensions. How does that influence it? Well, it has almost like 0 moisture content, maybe like less than 1%. So it doesn't really have any influence on the pH scale. We're referring to the ability of something to hold or retain moisture. So for instance, you have a sponge. Obviously that's going to retain a lot of moisture. If you have a table, that's not. When it comes to lashes, that slight change in pH also affects the ability of your lashes to retain moisture, which we know cyanoacrylate loves. So now that you understand porosity a little bit more, if we look at porosity in terms of wet porosity and dry porosity, when we use primers that contain alcohol, that just dries out the lashes even more. So that's making those spaces within the cuticle, the top of your lash is the surface of it, making those open, but also drying them out. And we know that cyanoacrylate doesn't like that. So if we look at it from a wet concept, a wet porosity, then that changes everything. If we could fill those void spaces with moisture, wouldn't cyanoacrylate love that even more, meaning bond even better? Okay, so now you're thinking about shock polymerization. We don't want to saturate the lashes. Of course not. So there's a difference between having an ingredient just as water, H2O, which absolutely cyanoacrylate loves. Then there's also the idea of having a humectant, something that sustains moisture. It draws in moisture because when we apply just H2O to a lash, it actually dries up pretty quickly. It doesn't moisturize those natural lashes. It creates dryness. So if we use a primer that, number one, obviously cleans off the surface of the lashes, making sure that you have a nice, clean surface to apply the lashes to, that's perfect. Number two, the second part should be also to increase the alkalinity of the lashes so that they're more suitable for that cyanoacrylate by a very small amount. All right, so back to polybutylene terephthalate, PBT. You'll be saying this in your sleep, I swear to God. But this material, it doesn't really draw in moisture, meaning it doesn't really have a pH, because in order for you to have a pH, there has to be some moisture content there or water activity available. And it really doesn't. But what manufacturers can do is they can incorporate additives into the PBT material that make our synthetic lashes a little bit more friendly for cyanoacrylate. That's why a lot of the cheap lashes that you find online, the hard ones, they contain like 0 moisture content and crack off. Either way, PBT itself does not have a pH level, and it does not have good porosity at all. So my point being in all of this, the question, do we use primer? What do we use? My advice to you is to use a primer that, number one, hydrates the natural lashes. It doesn't dry it out. Avoid all alcohol-based primers. It's not doing you any good. Even when you have a client with really, really good lashes and they're 4.5, that is still not what we need. We need to use hydrating primers so that the porous little voids can have moisture for cyanoacrylate and not water. It has to be a humectant like glycerin. Next, I would say that the primer has to have the ability to clean off any oil that is on your lashes and create a nice clean environment for that bond to be absolutely perfect. And number 3 would be that the primer is slightly on the alkaline side to bring up that pH so that it's more compatible with cyanoacrylate. And also, using PBT, we should be taking a little bit of a hydrating primer, and this is why sealant has been like a big blow up lately because of the glycerin, the humectant concentration in it. So take a little bit of a hydration primer and swipe it along the base. So that way that PBT material actually has some moisture content and that bond becomes stronger when you take that synthetic lash and dip it in that cyanoacrylate with the moisture content already present and place it on the lash that has a hydrating primer on it. That bond is going to be your new best friend. All right, so I have a little friend that wanted to jump up with me. This is Adrena. Next time, we are going to be discussing humidity ranges and how is it that an adhesive can have 20 to 70% humidity or 40 to 60. What ingredients in the adhesive allow that to happen?
Hasn't acclimate.
I love you.